Welcome to Let's Go Outside, a podcast bringing moms together to chat about the raw, unfiltered reality of doing the exploring we love after having kids. No matter your comfort level of adventuring with the little ones, this is a space to have honest conversations about the real struggles of getting out the door with the kiddos. I'm Danica, a mama living in a small mountain town who's totally obsessed with healthy food and taking my kids outside every single day. I professionally guided backpacking trips in the Canadian Rockies, and I'm certified as a Leave No Trace instructor. On the show, you'll hear real experiences from other moms, plus tips on gear, trail snacks, and the best practices in the wilderness. Whether it's hiking, camping, backpacking, skiing, or traveling the world you want to do more of, this is your place to learn, find encouragement, and strip away any comparison. Come embrace both motherhood and the outdoors. Stick around. This is your place. Welcome to the Outdoor Mom Club. Hello, welcome to Let's Go Outside podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Kat Badry to the show today. She has a beautiful 16-month-old son, and she's going to share with us all about her adventures with him.
Yay!
Well, welcome here. I want you to give us the full scoop. I want you to tell us about yourself, where you live. I want you to tell us what got you into going to the outdoors. I know you're into hiking and rock climbing, so we'd love to hear it all.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm 31 years old. I became a mom in 2023, and I have a 16-month-old son. He is just so fun and so adventurous, and he's definitely like a little explorer at heart. I feel like as soon as he left my body, he was like, I'm going to see the world. So it's been a journey. It feels crazy that it's only been 16 months. And I moved to Calgary in 2020, so right before COVID, literally like 2 months before COVID happened. And so I started working from home. I used to work in corporate as a payroll partner, and I always wanted to leave that job and pursue my own business, but I didn't get the guts to do so until 2024. So it was a long time coming, and now I'm the owner of a social media marketing company, which I love, and it's so much fun, and I just kind of pinch myself that I got to do that for work now, and it feels like this huge thing that's happening, so it's very exciting. And we live in Calgary, Alberta. We actually just live just north of Calgary, so in Airdrie, a smaller community, which I absolutely love. All of our friends live here, and it's just a very tight-knit community for us, which I absolutely adore.
I love that. And did you hike and rock climb before you got here?
I grew up on an acreage as a child in Prince George, BC. So I feel like as children, I know that I'm an adult now, and it looks so different when you're an adult looking back on childhood and looking at children now. But I feel like I was kind of on that tipping point as someone that's 31 now. It was kind of like a tipping point between technology and like still being able to freely go outdoors and be completely disconnected as a child. And it's like before the iPad time and all that stuff. And so I spent a lot of time outdoors as a child, and my dad was quite adventurous as well. And so I feel like I had that as a kid, and that's kind of where it grew from. And then in my 20s, I kind of lost it. You know, when you're in your 20s and you're kind of trying to figure stuff out, and you get kind of distracted with a bunch of stuff. And I didn't hike at all, I feel like, during those 10 years. And then when I moved to Calgary in 2020, so I would have been 27 at the time, and I kind of went right into it. So I was going through a hard time at the time with my mental health, with my family, and it was just kind of an escape. I feel like I started hiking in the winter, 21. I felt like it was kind of an escape to just completely turn my brain off, and I didn't have that choice of using technology as like an instant dopamine hit to make me feel better. It was kind of like I had to walk and just kind of feel my feelings. And when I did that, I really will say that like the mountains and hiking had a huge part of that healing process for me. And I just fell in love with it. It was just something that I just always wanted to do. And I remember seeing like older couples on the trail and me being like, oh my gosh, I hope I have my health so that I can continue to do this for as long as possible. It's just such a beautiful journey, and I absolutely love it. And now that I'm a mother, hiking has really become my favorite way to take Harry along on adventures, because with climbing, it's a bit more disconnected, right? You have a partner that's belaying you, you're with people at the crag or at the gym, but it's still a very singular sport where you're by yourself up on the wall. But with hiking, I feel like I can share it so much more with Harrison one-on-one.
That's so true. I love that.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing. Tell us about your favorite trip or your favorite place you've been with Harrison.
I'm going to say a specific hike because I know it's not really a trip, but it's an adventure. And so one of my favorite times, and it's funny because I'm going to say it, and if the person I went on this hike with is listening to this, they're going to be like, you're kidding, right? Because we struggled so bad, but it just kind of became my favorite, and it almost kind of became my favorite at the very end of the hike, and then as I reflected on it later. And so I had done this hike 2 times before without Harrison, before I was even pregnant. And it's called Pickle Jar Lakes. And I don't know if you've done it or heard of it. It's not like a super popular hike. It's almost 11 kilometers. It's about 680 meters of elevation gain. It's a great hike. But I remember taking Harrison, and it started off beautiful. It was like super warm out. It was gorgeous. And like you start the hike, it's super gradual. And I felt really good that day. I was like, oh, I'm feeling so good. I feel so strong. And as we started to climb, we both struggled so hard. And we were just like, I don't think we can finish this. We're really struggling. We started reaching snow, and the weather was starting to turn, and we're like, okay, we can't finish this hike, and we're both disappointed. And then as we like crested the top, and you kind of drop down into this, I guess it's like a valley. You drop down into this valley, and then there's the lakes. So there's 3 different lakes, and they're beautiful. There's mountain views all around you, and we drop down into this spot, and we have lunch. And I just remember sitting there going, hiking is just such a great explanation to like what motherhood feels like, and how it's like you have to do these hard days and these hard climbs, and then you have these moments of just bliss and love for your child, and you feel so proud of yourself sometimes that you've gotten through these really difficult times, because with motherhood there's nobody out there that hasn't struggled with it, like in some way, shape or form. And I just felt really proud of myself that day. And I remember seeing Harrison, and he was playing by the lake, and I just remember thinking, okay, like I'm doing something right. Like he's having fun, he's having a childhood.
Yeah.
And that just was one of my favorite moments. And like we finished the hike, we hiked out, and then it actually started pouring rain and like thunder and lightning. It was the most crazy hike ever, but I just remember going like, that was such a great day, even though we had so many challenges. And I think for me it was just such a great reminder that just because there's obstacles in life, and sometimes life isn't always great, it doesn't mean that it's not worth it, and like you're doing something wrong, because life just can be hard sometimes. But it was just such a great reminder of that, and that's probably one of my favorite hikes I've ever done with him, because of my mental space and what I learned that day, and just seeing him and just sharing that journey with him. And I just really hope that one day when Harrison is older, he'll look back and see strength in his mother.
That's such a beautiful story. I think that those moments where we're like, this is a big life lesson, this actually what we're experiencing right now, we can like put this into a different perspective. And it's so true. There's so many unknowns on the hiking trail. And then it's just like motherhood. There's so many unknowns. And then you get to the top of a mountain, and then you go do another mountain.
Yes,
that's a beautiful picture that you painted. I love that. Now I want to go to Pickle Jar Lake.
It's a good one. I mean, it's not the most amazing views I've ever seen. It's not the most amazing hike, and that's just so funny, right? Where you're like, I went on this basic hike, and it was difficult, and it was great, but it's the life lesson behind it.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's totally right. You're like, this is my favorite thing because of the experience we had, not necessarily our surroundings. That's so beautiful. Okay. So today we wanted to talk about postpartum depression a little bit, and I know that you have shared quite a bit about this on social media. And would you be willing to share about your experience and when postpartum depression first showed up for you?
Of course, I think it's so important to share, because I was one of the first people I'm the first person out of my friends group to have a baby. So I had no friends really that I could really lean on and talk about these things with. And so I didn't get postpartum depression until later. I would say around 10 to 11 months, I started to experience forms of PPD. And so I was very confused by it. I was not like, this is what I'm experiencing, and this is so clear. It was very like, why am I waking up feeling this way when I literally have everything I've ever wanted? And so it kind of felt like a big guilt trip every single day, where I was like, I have this beautiful son who is perfectly healthy, happy, and I have my dream career happening. I've been very blessed there. My spouse loves me. I have my health. So what am I experiencing that's making me feel exhausted and alone and all these things? And so I really ignored it for a very long time. I was just pushing it away. I was just saying I was overwhelmed and that I just was stressed. And it kind of had like the narrative of like, just pull yourself together. Nobody wants to hear your problems. And that's how I kind of felt about it initially. And I look back on that time and I go, oh, why did I do that? Like I should have just been more honest with myself. And so the first symptom that I had experienced was feeling disassociated from people. And so I kind of felt like my friends would invite me out and I'd be like, I don't really want to go. And so that was very unlike me. I'm very social. I love hanging out with my friends. And then it would kind of get to the point where I'd be like, I don't want to go. They don't want me there anyways. And it was very negative. And I was like, I would sit there and go, why do I feel that way? Like, why? There's no fact. There's no reason behind it. And so for me, it was like I felt so alone, and that's where I felt comfortable, and that's how it was coming out for me with PPD. And then I noticed my second symptom was having irrational anxiety and fear about something happening to my son, or happening to me and me not being there for him. And so I thought that this was just normal, and I was like, well, of course I love my son and I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But it was like kind of extreme. Like I set him up for daycare, and he was going to go to daycare, and I was having these very irrational thoughts that were keeping me up at night. And me being like, he's going to choke, and, you know, nobody's going to be able to save him. And I'm like, but they're trained in helping him if he were to choke. Like, he's in a very safe spot. He's probably actually more safe with them than with me, but these fears would keep me up at night when I had no fact or rational thinking behind it. And so it was really weird because I really didn't experience that until he was like 10 months, 11 months old. Before that, I felt great. And mentally, I felt like very healthy and like I wasn't experiencing any of these symptoms. And it kind of just like hit me like a train. And I was like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so that was the most confusing part for me.
Yeah. Okay. It's wild when that comes up. I can relate. I finished breastfeeding with my son at 18 months, and I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I just couldn't get off the couch. Like I was just like, I am not motivated. And I think that's the people listening here, we're all go-getters. Like we're all motivated people, right? But then when you experience something like this where you're like, this is not normal. This is like not our normal selves, but this is all we can do right now. And I think what you said was like, you couldn't go out with friends, but that was always what you wanted to do. That we need to pay attention to those things and let those people around us maybe be like, what's going on? Like, this isn't normal. Yeah, it's
hard when you're also the only mother that you really know. And so how do you explain that to people that don't have children? When you say, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I just do. And I don't know how to move forward. I don't know how to change it, even though I really want to. But sometimes when you're a mom, it's so easy to just be like, okay, my child is fed, my son is happy, and like that's all I need right now. And you forget that you're a human too. And I think when you first come into motherhood, you almost kind of feel like a robot. Like you're like, okay, I'm just going to provide food, I'm going to provide nourishment for my child, I'm going to cuddle them, and I'm sleep deprived, and all the things. And then we kind of go, I wonder why I'm not feeling well. Like I'm literally giving all of myself to this child, not to mention the nutrients that have been taken from you during pregnancy and breastfeeding that you're now having to replenish and can't because you don't have the time or the mental space or anything to give to yourself. And it's very, very sad when you think about it. And then you feel guilt because you're like, I'm not grateful, when that's not the case. But that's how you feel in the moment where you're like, I literally have gotten everything that I wanted. I was fully present in all these decisions that I made. And now I'm still at the end of it going, well, I still feel mentally unwell. So how do I turn that around? Who can I ask for help?
Yeah. And it's hard when you're, like you said, depleted of all those things. Like how can you get the strength to even climb up to figure out that path? But could you share with us what happened after you realized, or how you realized, and where you went from there?
So around 14 months, around my son's 14-month mark, he was getting accepted to daycare. And that was the biggest step for me of just accepting, like, I needed more time to pour into myself. And I was like, yes, I'm going to use this time to work, but I also need to time block space for me. And for me to accept that was really difficult, because I was like, no, my son is going to daycare so that I can provide for my family. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to work. And so that was my first initial mindset. And I went, no, like, that's not what I need to do. I need to at least take an hour for myself every single day of uninterrupted time to build myself back so that I can be strong for him. Because I was getting to the point where I would lose my temper, you know, you're edgy, you're feeling tired, you know, it would be 4 p.m. and I haven't eaten anything yet except for 3 cups of coffee. Very unhealthy lifestyle, which is not who I was and not who I wanted to be. And so my building back, the first part of building back was Harrison going to daycare and me admitting that I needed help. I needed to outsource and find help. I don't have any family here. My spouse works full time. You know, he doesn't have the capacity to watch Harrison, of course. And so I had to outsource, and I had to admit to myself that I could not be the one and only person that this child needed. And so once I accepted that, I had a big conversation with my spouse. And so I think that's always going to be like the second thing, where you need to sit down and go, I just need to be honest about what I need. Like, I need them to know what I need, because they can't read my mind, even though I feel like sometimes women just feel like men can read their mind, and we all do it, you know, we all go, why doesn't he just know what I want? But it's not the case. And so for me, I sat down with him and I said, I need to go to the gym 4 times a week. I want space for me, because movement makes me feel great. You know, it's healthy for me and it's a stress reliever. And so that was agreed upon. 4 days a week. You know, he would watch Harrison on the days that he didn't have daycare, and I could go to the gym, and just coming to that communicative state where you can actually be open about exactly what you want. And it's so funny, because I asked for all these things that I wanted, and I felt so selfish for asking for them, but I was like, don't feel that way. There's no fact behind that. Because mom guilt is just fear. Of feeling like your child is going to resent you, or you're doing something wrong, and they're going to think that you put yourself first, when in reality, taking an hour or 2 for yourself every day and pouring the other 22 hours into your child is the furthest thing from being selfish. And so that was my second step, which went well and went great, thankfully. And then it was just me actually taking action. And I went to the doctor and I got a full hormonal lab done to make sure that all my hormones were healthy. Because I was like, maybe it's hormones. Maybe my hormones didn't come back normally. And so I did that. I got all my hormones checked. I actually Googled what I should be doing, and I advocated for myself with the doctor. And then I got a gym membership, and I've been going to the gym, which has been great. And actually just listening to my body too, and being like, okay, today I don't feel like lifting weights. What do I truly feel like doing as movement? You know, that might be a hot yoga class. That might be just a walk with your dog. Something that brings you joy. So it doesn't feel like another chore that you have to do. And that has been really helping me mentally just find myself again. And not that I want to be who I was before, because I never will. But, you know, I want to feel like me. Even if it's this new, improved version of me, I want to be me again. And I kind of lost that a little bit for a while.
Yeah. And like you said, like, you can't really serve your son, you can't take care of your son well when we're kind of in that spot of being depleted and being run down. And I think as a mom, when we're in it, like you're saying, you don't see that. Like, you think like, if I can just work harder, it's going to be okay. And like, I just have to make sure that they're okay. This is my job. This is my calling now. But for me, it's always been a very tangible example of when I was leading backpacking trips for kids, when it was raining outside, and I didn't have a good rain jacket. And the rain jacket, I would get soaked. I would be freezing. I would not be able to take care of the group. And everything would go downhill from there. And I remember when I got, this is such a random example, but when I got a Gore-Tex rain jacket, that made all the difference. And I was dry. I was warm. I could start a fire. I could help them set up their tarps to sleep under. And that made all the difference. And I think that has always stuck in my head. Like, the leader or the mom, if you can take care of yourself, and it's not like I'm going to be going in my tent with my amazing sleeping bag and they're all out there in the rain, like, not that extent, but to an extent of like, I can't even take care of you if to that point. And I think it's just a very it's an essential to be able to care for somebody else, like you're saying.
100%.
Is to do that.
I think as a new mom, my friend and I always say rookie mom, because it's like you think you got it figured out, and then before you know it, you're knocked over again, and there's a new stage and a new thing and a new season, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta learn this all over again. And that's why motherhood is so mentally draining, because you're never on top of it. You're always like, it always keeps you on your toes, right? But I feel like it's the whole airplane. The airplane's going down. You put your mask on first before you put somebody else's on. It's that whole analogy. And I feel like as a new mom, and I'm not saying all moms are like this, this is obviously my personal experience, but I feel like a lot of mothers that I know, that I've spoken to, they go, I just don't put myself first, and I'm struggling. And it's like, well, I think we forget that we're human. Like, we were a human before we had a child. We are still a human. We have needs and wants and desires and goals and dreams. And when you have a child that you love so much, and all you want is to just make sure that they are okay at all points of the day, all the time. And it's so exhausting that there is like no amount of sleep that can ever make you feel not exhausted, because it's a lot of work to care for someone at that extent. And so I think just taking those small parts of the day and going to the gym, taking 30 minutes to read a book that you really love, whatever that may look like for you, you have to like force yourself to do it. And it's going to feel weird, and I still go to the gym and I feel guilty, but I just need to go, is this fact? Am I being a bad mother by doing this? And I'm going to say 98% of the time the answer is no. Like, I am not doing anything incorrect or wrong or going to, cause trauma for my child. Like, nothing that I'm doing is going to hurt him in any way, so why do I feel guilt? And then when you feel that, you just gotta let it go through you and then let it go. Because it's like, the mom guilt will always be there, but it's when you give it fact and give it control over your life is when it starts to get in the way.
So did climbing and going outdoors help in the healing process for you?
Absolutely. At the beginning, climbing was really easy because they can't move. You throw their little bouncer chair up and they sit in there and you can climb. Like, it's so great. And climbing has always been so therapeutic for me because I feel like my brain is always going so fast and I'm always thinking about a bunch of things. I know you can't technically multitask, but I try. So my brain is constantly thinking about 100 things at once. And climbing is like the one sport that I was able to just be like, nothing matters right now. My attention needs to be on climbing because it's, high risk, high consequence. And it was like the one thing that I could do, and probably the first thing that I've ever done, where my brain was able to just completely focus on one thing. So I found it super therapeutic. And so that was very important at the beginning of my postpartum journey. I started climbing again at 2 weeks postpartum. Harrison came to the gym with me, and it was just a beautiful thing. I mean, he grew up there for the first 10 months of his life. And I just loved it. And now it's a bit harder to go, right? Because he's running around. You need to always have 3 people there so that somebody can watch him. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just a bit more tricky and a bit more of planning. So we don't go as often. But I really do hope that he will want to climb with me. And then eventually we can go together and he will start climbing. And I plan to do that before his 2nd birthday. So I'm hoping that soon we start doing that and start experiencing that together. But with hiking, I feel like it has been very therapeutic for me. Because it gets you out of the routine. I feel like the routine is great. I mean, you're like, I need the routine. My child needs the routine. But some days you're like, if I have to put you down for a nap at 10 a.m., I am going to lose my mind today. Like, I need to get out of this house. And so for me, when we went on those weekly hikes, it was like, I kind of got a day off a little bit to just walk, enjoy the scenery, get some fresh air. And Harrison was always so great about it. I was very fortunate. Harrison loved his hiking carrier from the beginning, and he napped in it when he was tired, and he's always been very happy outside. So very lucky that way.
That's so good. Yeah, I was going to ask you if he slept in his carrier. That makes all the difference. You're like, let's go do the naps on the go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's different stages, right, of climbing with our kids too. I remember when we used to take the Jolly Jumper to the Craig and hang from the tree, and like you said, the bouncer to the gym. Oh man. Yeah, and exactly what you say, climbing, it takes all of you, right? You need to focus and you need your whole body on the wall. I would love to talk more about climbing. It's a different thing also when your kid is on the ground and you're trying to climb your little baby and they're like, can I have a snack? Or like, where's mom? And it's hard with the little kids, I'd say. There's different seasons. And like, I think what you're saying though, you have to keep going. Like, right now is kind of maybe a hard stage or hard season, but you're not putting it off forever. It's something that you love and you see the value in, and you're going to keep pursuing it, but maybe It's hard right now.
I know. And I think that's the biggest thing for moms to always be reminded of, is that like literally everything is temporary in motherhood. Like, your hard season, it will end and it will get better, or maybe it'll get worse for a little bit, depending on what your priorities are. But I feel like it was so easy to climb in the beginning, and everybody's like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? I'm like, honestly, I find it very easy right now. But I would always be like, I think that will end once he starts running around and being more, active, and also just more opinionated, and being like, well, I want mom right now to hold me, and I'm up on the wall. So it's a very different season, but I always tell myself, I'm like, this is not forever. Who cares if I can't climb for 2 months right now? It's not the end of the world. My son just needs me more at this season of life, and that is okay. That does not mean that I am losing myself or I will never be able to climb again, because one day I will be able to, and one day he'll climb with me. I hope he really loves it, and we can climb together. I just don't see that being a very long part of my life. I feel like it's going to be here before I know it, like everything else that has happened over the last 16 months.
It's so true. Did you climb during your pregnancy?
I climbed till I was 39 weeks pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think
that's incredible.
My last gym climb was like 39 weeks in one day or something, yeah.
I love that.
Yes,
that's
and I
amazing.
outdoor climbed till I was 36 weeks.
36
so
weeks.
I had a very big belly, very big pregnancy belly. Harrison was a huge kid, and so at 36 weeks I did my last climb at a crag called Sunshine. It was just, I couldn't get my legs high enough to really, you know what I mean? It was awkward, and it just felt very unstable, and so I was like, you know what, this is going to be my last climb, because I think I'm done. I'm satisfied. My goal
that's amazing.
When I got pregnant was 30 weeks. I said I want to climb till 30 weeks, if that is what I'm able to do. And then once I hit 30 weeks, I went, no, I feel so good. I'm going to keep going. And I got another 6 weeks out of it. So honestly, that was such a win for me. And I just loved climbing pregnant. It was just one of the funnest things. And I felt so empowered the whole time, because I was like, I can't believe I'm climbing with this huge belly on me, and it was just the coolest thing, and I just it'll be for one of my favorite seasons of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the next level, when there's some reels going around being like, okay, what people said to me on the hiking trail, but when someone is not a climber, or someone is a climber, and then they see you with your big belly climbing out there, they're like, it's like next level, like, what the heck are you doing? Like, wow, you're like, you feel like a rock star, but you also, just to your core, it doesn't really matter when those comments come. I feel like it's just like, I'm just proud of this moment right now, and I'm doing what I love, and it's not really any different. It's just another day in my everyday life, because I love this, and we're going to keep going.
Yeah, and I always felt very safe, and like I wore, the proper harness, to accommodate the belly, and all my friends were very safe about it, and very attentive to me, and made sure everything was good. And so I was like, if this makes me happy and my pregnancy goes by way faster because of this, and I feel healthier, then why not? I felt great. So it was awesome.
And I think being pregnant, you have all your senses heighten and going into motherhood. And so I think that when you're pregnant and climbing, it's the same, and you kind of know what you can do, or where your limit is, because it's just, all your senses are so heightened, I would have to say. So I never felt like uncomfortable or anything like that. At the very end, the only thing that was like the physical aspect of like, your belly's in the way, and so you can't do certain climbs or whatever, and can't get your leg up as high as you want to, So it's just those things, but they're kind of just like, they're funny at the time, because you're like, well, I'm pretty pregnant, so I guess this is just a reality for me. But I honestly just felt so blessed that I had such a healthy and good pregnancy, especially being a high-risk pregnancy. Okay.
I honestly miss being pregnant all the time. Like, I miss it so much. And yeah, I'm always like, it's just the best thing ever. I love being pregnant.
Yeah, it's so lucky to be one of those people that loves your pregnancy. I am one of those people too, and I feel like so many people are going to hate us for saying that, but
they will. But that's fine.
It is what it is, and we all love or hate different seasons. And yeah, I'm so thankful. Pregnancy was really, really special. Yeah. So I want to ask you how you approach rebuilding your strength and endurance after having a baby with climbing and hiking.
So I did work out my entire pregnancy. So I worked out until I think 2 days prior to giving birth. So, which was a huge part of my life prior to getting pregnant. I worked out for years prior, very consistently. And then when I got pregnant, I was actually in like the best shape of my life. And so I think that's actually a big factor of why I had gotten pregnant, because we had tried for years. And finally I had gotten pregnant. So Harrison was actually like a surprise, which we wanted, but we didn't think it was going to happen for us. And when I got pregnant, it was such a joy. And then I actually started doing, pregnancy programs, and I felt great working out. I mean, I was sick at the beginning of my pregnancy, and so I think I took, a 6-week break because I was just very ill. But as soon as I felt better again, I just went right back into it, and I felt awesome. And so I feel like I didn't really lose that.
That's awesome.
Postpartum, and then obviously I also climbed and hiked, and so I think I kind of kept that going. After you give birth, your body feels like nothing you've ever felt before. You have these weak muscles, especially in the core. And so I think that's been my biggest struggle, is just building back that core again, because I noticed it when I was climbing, and I was like, I can't really like hold my legs or pull them up like I used to. And so like an overhang was just impossible at the beginning. It was like, how am I going to use my core to hold me stable? And it's just now at 16 months, postpartum, that I finally am feeling that core strength come back, because I still feel like it's a little bit weak, much weaker than it was before. So I think to build it back, I feel like the best thing you can do is find a program that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, and like start small. Like start with just like a pelvic floor program and build that core back, because that is literally the base for absolutely everything. Like there's nothing that you can do without a strong core and do it properly. And so I feel like that's just where I want to start, and where I would tell everybody to start. Because when I want to say 3 days postpartum, I started doing like a pelvic floor and core program.
Wow,
and so that
you were on it.
Where I built it back, and honestly, it was like 7 minutes a day, like not a whole lot to it, but it helped me get back into the routine. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was like, I don't even care if this is actually really working. I just want to keep my routine going of being like, okay, I'm going to take some time for me to just do this thing and feel like I'm accomplishing a goal today that is mine.
Set aside this time, and then in the future it might grow to something else, but right now, yeah, that's really cool. Even like 7 minutes, that's really, really awesome. And like you said, you had been climbing till 39 weeks.
Crazy.
And so, yeah, but your body changes, and then you learn how to do it again, and you build that core back up. So what are some of the first adventures that you did with Harrison? Are you looking for the perfect winter boots that keep little toes cozy without weighing them down? I have been loving Jan and Jewel boots the last couple of years for my boys. They are fleece lined, totally waterproof, insulated, and they can put these boots on by themselves. Jan and Jewel has an awesome selection of outdoor clothing, jackets, especially for rain or for winter, footwear, mittens. I love their sun hats. I especially love their extra small mittens. Don't have a thumb hold for my little guy. Let's Go Outside listeners get 10% off by using the code LGO10. I'm leaving the affiliate link in the show notes. If you click that link, I will get a small percentage of whatever you purchase with no extra charge to you. So check out this Canadian company. I've been loving it, and I think you will too. If you are looking to hit your protein goals, balance your blood sugar levels, and energize your day, I have just the recipes for you. I have compiled the top high-protein snack recipes from my food blog into a mini e-cookbook. They're easy to make with whole food ingredients. Many of the recipes include nuts, hemp hearts, or eggs as the main source of protein. To get this free ebook, go to besidethemountaiin.com/protein-ebook or check out the show notes below.
The first hike we ever did, he was 7 weeks, which is so crazy to think about when I think about it now. at that point, I was like itching to get hiking. Like I was like, oh my gosh, if he's 7 weeks old, why am I not hiking yet? Like that's how I felt at that time. And now I look back and go, oh my gosh, he was so little. Why was I in such a rush to get out there? But I was like desperate. Like I literally looked at my spouse and I was like, we're going today. Like we're not going. I don't care. I don't care what happens. And so I took him up Tunnel Mountain, which is a very easy hike in Banff, Alberta, and is very safe, very, very well marked, very popular. And so I was like, you know what, this trail is safe, like I'm not going to fall, nothing's going to happen. And so I think for me, why it took till 7 weeks to actually even go is because of my own body. Like I didn't feel physically ready to hike up a mountain. And so I was like, and at 7 weeks, I was like, yeah, I think I'm like ready to go. But I remember being really nervous because I was like, what if I start carrying him and it starts to like hurt my core? Or what if I just feel really weak? Or, what if he starts crying and I don't really know how to approach the situation? But it went so well. I mean, he slept most of the time. And it really built my confidence with that first hike where I was like, okay, we did it. We hiked to the top of the mountain. Sure, it was short. Sure, it was smaller. But like, as we do this more together, the more confidence I will build. And also he'll get more used to it. So that was our first adventure together, and I'm so glad it went well because I couldn't imagine going and it being like terrible and then feeling all of that, concern and being like, is this actually going to work? Am I actually going to be able to hike with my child? And then after that, it just kind of snowballed. I mean, we've hiked so many hikes. I wish I would have counted them for this podcast so I could actually say a number, but it has been just so many great adventures, and some are huge, and I feel like some of them I might have died and come back to life again because they were so difficult. But it's just so great to see the world like through them all over again, and all these hikes that you've already done, but then they have so much more meaning now because you've taken your son on it and they've got to see it too. And then climbing, I mean, like I said, 2 weeks was our first gym climb together, which was so crazy to think. And I remember taking him in his car seat and he like barely filled out the car seat. He was just this little blob. And I remember climbing, and I climbed a relatively easy route, and I was like, oh my gosh, my body is broken. Like I have no strength. And which is crazy to think that I was climbing 3 weeks prior to that and felt really good. So it's crazy what birth will put your body through. And then climbed a lot at the beginning, and like I said, it's slowed down a little bit now, but we did some outdoor climbs, we did 2 climbing trips, big road trips to go climbing, and climbed for multiple days, and it was awesome. I mean, he did so well, and I just feel very grateful that he's such a lover of the outdoors as well at such a young age.
So for that first hike on Tunnel Mountain, do you remember what kind of carrier you used?
Yes, I used the Ergo Baby Omni Dream is what I used.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so comfortable. It's probably the most comfortable one. I have another one that isn't as comfortable, so I had a comparison. Okay. And honestly, like the Omni Dream was just, it was the Cadillac of carriers. Like I just felt so good in it. He was super cozy in it. It had a little like sun and rain shell to go over his head in case, it was too sunny or a little bit windy even. It would just keep him protected. And he just seemed really comfortable in there. And then when he was 6 months, he was already really heavy. So at 6 months, it was a lot to keep him on my front. And so I bought the Osprey Poco Light carrier. Okay. And that's what we use still to today. And he absolutely loves it. Like he just... Yeah. Every time I put him in there, he starts like squealing and he's happy, and I'm like, okay, he loves it in there. He's super comfortable, and this works. Yeah, so good. And how did road tripping and the climbing trip go? It went surprisingly well. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we did one trip in Skaha. I don't know if you know what that is, but we did a Skaha trip. We camped and drove down there. It's about an 8-hour drive from where I'm at. And he was great. So he did awesome. I think he was 7 months old at that point. And then you would hike in with him? And would he hike in with him, hang out? You'd hang out maybe? Yeah, in a hammock or... Yeah, we had 2 hammocks hung. We had... at one of the crags was pretty close. So we actually carried in his stroller. And so he naps in his stroller and all that. Like, that was really, really good. And then... But yeah, I feel... I'm trying to imagine a stroller at Skaha. Like from... Yes, I can't remember which wall it was. I can't remember the name. But okay, it was the one that has like the staircase at the very beginning. I'm just
Okay.
I'm trying to remember
Oh, yeah.
the name.
Okay. There's a lot of different
staircase,
crags.
and then-
Okay.
I know.
Wow.
It's crazy. in there,
Diamondback, maybe. But I don't even know that would be. Wow. Okay. I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to say my boyfriend carried the stroller, and I did not carry the stroller,
Okay.
and I carried Harrison, but
Okay.
so that worked well. I mean,
Yeah.
it was difficult. I wouldn't suggest it because it was difficult to get the stroller in there, but it was
Yeah.
nice while we had it.
Yeah, and for them to have a place to sit probably while you climbed
Yes.
is so
That's
nice,
my
or to
biggest
sleep.
suggestion. Yeah, if you were going to be at a crag, like make sure you have something for your kid to sit in. Because they
Yeah,
will just
I
crawl
know.
everywhere and eat everything. It's like, why would you put that in your mouth? Like,
We
why-
would often bring the Snuggle Me Organic and let them sleep in that, like strap that to the side of our backpack. But that's when they're really little. And then when they start to move, it's definitely harder, like we're at the stage you're at kind of right now. The
Yeah, I
crawling
brought
and
my
the putting
bouncer
everything in your
chair.
mouth.
I know. Everything in your mouth thing is just, it's exhausting. You're like, stop doing
Yeah.
that, please.
Yeah.
Just get over that.
Rocks
Um,
aren't food.
Yeah. I had a bouncer chair at the one crag the one time. That worked really well too. So just depends on what you want to carry. You're going
Okay.
to carry more stuff.
Yeah.
That is
I know.
reality.
Yeah, totally. Bring the playpen. There is amazing playpens that are made, well, they're smaller. I would love to create a lightweight playpen that you can take with you to the crag, or even on a backpacking trip if you're really hardcore. But
Amazing.
or those what are really great too are those little tents that people bring to the beach.
Yeah.
Those are good
for
at the
sure.
crag. Yeah.
Yeah, I always found naps. Naps are like the hardest for adventuring because like food is food. You can carry food in. They'll eat
Yes.
if they're hungry. Diaper changes are easy. It's just the naps. So I feel like if your kid does not nap, then your day is pretty much over, right? Because they're so irrational and they just get so upset when they're tired. And literally all you can do is get them to naps. So you're like, what am I going to do? And so usually you end up getting your carrier out and walking around with them until they fall asleep, which is time consuming and will break your back eventually.
I've literally done that at Skaha. That's so funny that you're saying that. I find the key to getting your kid to sleep in the back, like out there, is sleep associations. Like whatever they sleep with at home, bring those things. For us, it's
Yeah.
like a sleep sack and a soother. And at that young age, it was the Snuggle Me Organic. And I'm so thankful that they would sleep, because that's like when Daniel and I could actually climb, is during nap time. But like you say, it makes or breaks the day with the kiddos on an adventure.
It really does.
Yeah.
100%. Naps they are the biggest struggle. Yeah. It really will break your day if you can't get your kids a nap. And then when they fall asleep, you're just like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes. Okay, let's come back to postpartum depression, and I want to ask you, for moms feeling like they might be experiencing postpartum depression, or anyone who might be prone to it, what would you say to them, especially if they're feeling isolated? I would love for you to speak to that.
Honestly, it's going to sound kind of cheesy, but use the tool that you have in your hand, like your phone. Honestly, it's all of my mom friends that I've met, especially ones that have similar interests to me, like hiking and climbing, are people that I've met online. People sometimes don't like the concept of being online and meeting people online, but if you're not working, if you're on maternity leave, you haven't connected with anybody at your work on a deeper level, none of your friends have kids, then where are you going to meet moms, especially moms that have similar interests to you? So for me, it was like, I'm going to try to find some people that have had babies around the same time that I have, that are in hiking groups, or or sharing hiking, or sharing babies that are hiking. And I found some incredible people that, for one, will go hiking with you because they are also on maternity leave, and for two, like, will become these friends that you can relate to. And I think it's so important for a mom to have friends that don't have kids and also have kids, so that she can also have that person to relate to and knows exactly what they're feeling, but also to get her out of that funk and be like, okay, my child and being a mother is not my entire identity, and I actually have other things that I want to talk about. And so I love that balance.
It's so true.
It's just funny, but it really is. Like, sometimes I'm like, I need to talk about something other than Harrison because I've been talking about him for an hour and I feel like I'm bored of my conversation. Like, and I'm the one talking. But I feel like, yes, look online. There are hiking groups that you can join. There are, there's also Facebook groups that have hiking moms that are available. There's literally just write motherhood and hiking into your search engine on Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform that you use, and literally people will pop up for you. And you can even put like location, right? For me it'd be like Calgary. And I've some of these girls have become really close friends with me, and Harrison has grown up with their kids already, and it's just so special. And honestly, some of those moms have been such rocks for me because I'm like, this is how I'm feeling. Do you feel this way too? And they are like, yes. And I'm like, thank you for making me feel validated and not like I'm losing my mind. And no one, like your spouse, your friends without kids, even your mom who parented 35 years ago is not going to relate to how you feel today, because the way that she parented and in the environment that she parented in was completely different. And so it's just very nice to have somebody that's in it with you. And it doesn't have to be, 15 people. Literally just find one person that you connect with, because having one quality friend that's there for you will make all the difference. And then your kid has an automatic friend too, so that's kind of cool. I mean, it's like a package deal.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think the internet has kind of broken this barrier of being like, I can literally message anyone. And like, if they don't message back, like, I haven't lost anything. They don't know me. I have felt that way. Like, just, you can message famous people. Like, and you're like, what? They wrote back to me. But also you can message people in your local area and be like, hey, do you want to just go for a walk in the neighborhood? Do you want to get coffee? And then ones that want to hike. And I think also what you're saying is so, so true. And I think when you plan something, it really brings the people. I've found, like, when you personally invite someone to something, they will come. They will do it with you. And that's where friends are born. And it's so, so true.
Well, I started, this hiking group, and I've had a few people come, and it's been really great. It's very new, but it's so nice to see this one mom came out, and it was her first hike with her child ever. Her son was, he was like, I think he was 13 months, and she's like, I'm finally just getting out. I didn't have the confidence to get out on my own, and so she's like, I thought I would reach out and come for this hike today, and like, it felt so good to see her out there with her child and being like, I'm so proud of you for taking this leap and going hiking with a bunch of strangers. It is not easy. Especially for people that have social anxiety or, just afraid of being judged by other people they don't know. It's like, no, like, we're all here just to have a good time, be with our kids. We don't care if your kid cries. We don't care if you need to stop for a diaper change. It does not matter. We are all here just to be together and get outside, because we all know how hard this is. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And it's just, a mom friend, just one. You don't need to find a ton, but just one mom friend that gets it, is in the same season as you. It's so important for your mental health. And I tried being friends with like multiple mom friends, I found some women at gymnastics, or my son was going to gymnastics, and there was one particular woman where it's like, yes, you have a child, but we're just not connecting. We don't have anything in common. And then being okay with being like, I'm going to let this friendship go, because it's not really serving what I need. And so don't be just friends with a person just because they're a mom too, unless you really do connect. But find somebody that actually loves the same things as you. So it's like, I can get out, do my thing with a friend, but she also knows what level I'm at. She understands the struggles, and you can just kind of find a peace in that.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing that, Kat. My last questions that I ask everyone as we round out the show is, what encouragement do you have for moms who want to explore more?
My encouragement is, of course, this is going to be different for everyone, because everybody has a different, level of experience and everything like that. But if you're feeling anxious about taking your child out, especially into the mountains, which there's so much risk associated with that, and you need to know what you're doing, my biggest thing is just start small. Like, people just want to jump right into it and be like, I'm going to hike this huge mountain with my kid. I'm going to prove a point. I'm going to take an Instagram photo and I want to share it online. I want people to be proud of me and I want to have this validation that I can do this thing. For me, I was like, I'm just going to start with a small hike to see how it goes and just take it day by day. And honestly, I remember putting on my hiking pack in my kitchen when my son was 6 months old. And I put the pack on and I went, there is no way I'm going to be able to hike a mountain with this thing on. Like, are you joking? Who can do this? And I was like, what am I made out of that everybody else, is not made out of? Like, I'm just like, I don't understand. And so I started walking around the kitchen, I started walking up the stairs, and I was like dying. I was so exhausted. And so I was feeling very defeated. I was like, I don't even know if I want to take this outdoors. I don't even know if I'd be able to hike comfortably with this on. But I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So I started small, and over time your body gets stronger. You get more used to wearing the pack and the way that it feels. Your child gets more used to being in the pack. They get more comfortable. And don't beat yourself up and give yourself grace, because it's going to take time. You are not going to put that pack on and carry your child up a mountain when you are 8 weeks postpartum and feel great. It's just not a reality. And so just don't give up on yourself, because it's amazing how much in 16 months my body has grown almost with the pack and like the strength that's been built. And that person standing in my kitchen when my son was 6 months old would never have thought those things. She was feeling so upset about the fact that she felt very uncomfortable with the pack. And so just keep going and take it small and just start small. You have nothing to prove. You are a mother and you've gone through this huge life-altering transition, and your body has literally created this human from nothing and then birthed it, and now you're tired and all these things, and it's a crazy, crazy time. And so I just really feel terrible when people will start hiking with their kid, and I've heard them say it, and I've said it too, where I'm like, I'm sorry I'm so slow, or oh, I just can't keep up, or oh, I'm just not feeling good today, like I know. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You're out there, you're doing what you love, or maybe it's something that you didn't even like before, you didn't even like hiking before, but you want to share that with your child. And so now you're starting this now, because it's never too late to start, and you just got to keep going, because your body is so resilient, and sometimes our mind likes to trick us that it's not.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so true. Thank you for sharing that, Kat. My last question is, now that we've heard from you and heard your beautiful story and connected with you, and you've shared so vulnerably with us, we'd love to continue to connect with you or even ask more questions. Where can we follow along and share about your business now too?
Of course. So my Instagram for like outdoor adventure and motherhood is at @Badry_. And then my business, so my social media management and marketing company, is Cat Social Inc. So whatever you're interested in, follow them both, follow one. I'd love to get some more connections and talk to more moms that are hiking, climbing, want to start, or even just business entrepreneurs, and balancing that motherhood life, because that is a whole other thing on top of this.
Totally. I know. It is. Thank you so much, and we're so excited to connect with you further.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
I wanted to say, hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening. I am glad that you're part of this community. If you want to connect with Kat, all her links are in the show notes. I also left the links to the places that she talked about and the gear we mentioned, just like I try and do for each and every episode. Please come over to Instagram and connect with me more at Beside the Mountain, and join the Facebook group for a community of moms who love to go outside with their kiddos, where we just hang out and chat about things that we care about. Okay, have an incredible day. I hope you find some sunshine.